Discipline is not punishment. It is reconciliation between thought and deed. Every broken promise to self is a fracture of the soul. Each time a man swears he will act and does not, he divides his kingdom and invites chaos to rule. To rebuild self-respect, he must restore unity, thought, word, and act marching as one. Until that harmony is achieved, no prayer, no vision, no plan can bear fruit. The modern world instructs men to forgive themselves easily, to accept weakness as natural. That teaching has robbed more destinies than famine or war. True mercy does not excuse failure. It redeems it by correction. There is no kindness in allowing one's character to rot beneath the perfume of self-pity. The mind must be cleansed not by indulgence, but by decision. Every man carries within him two voices, the voice of ease and the voice of will. One whispers, "Rest a little longer, the world owes you comfort." The other commands, "Rise, the world owes you nothing." The battle between these two determines every fortune and every ruin. The tragedy of most lives is not ignorance of what must be done, but the refusal to do it when the moment arrives. Discipline begins where emotion ends. The undisciplined man consults his feelings before he acts. The disciplined man acts, and his feelings learn to follow. The first law of self-respect is to distrust emotion when it contradicts purpose. For emotion is a servant that rebels when indulged too long. The will must reclaim authority and teach it obedience again. Understand this clearly. Your mind is not a democracy. It was never meant to hold equal votes for courage and fear, diligence and laziness, purpose and distraction. It was designed as a kingdom, with the will as sovereign and thought as counsel. When every appetite claims equal right, anarchy begins within, and outward defeat soon follows. Accurate thinking is the general that leads this inner war. To think accurately is to see oneself without decoration or disguise. It is to stand naked before one's own intellect and ask, "What am I pretending not to know?" This honesty is the first instrument of power. Self-deception is the enemy of progress, for the mind cannot repair what it refuses to admit is broken. The weak self hides behind reasoning, explanations, and gentle lies. It says, "I would have succeeded if circumstances were kinder, if others had helped, if opportunity had come sooner." The disciplined mind answers, "Circumstances reveal the man. They do not create him." Every excuse is an attempt to transfer responsibility from the throne of power, the self, to the marketplace of chance. Let me tell you a secret of infinite intelligence. Life yields only to those who obey its laws. The stars move not by whim, but by pattern. The tides rise and fall according to rhythm. And man, being part of this order, must align himself with law if he would prosper. The first of these laws is this: no improvement begins until falsehood is rejected. Therefore, cast out all flattering lies. Stop saying you will try. Declare that you will do. Stop claiming you lack time. Admit that you lack will. Stop mourning the past. Acknowledge that you have delayed your own victory. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. Only when you expose the infection can healing begin. Society has taught you to seek comfort over conquest. It applauds indulgence, rewards distraction, and calls surrender balance. But balance without purpose is paralysis. The man who fears extremity never achieves excellence. The world's noise whispers that self-discipline is severity. Yet history's heroes prove that self-discipline is salvation. Consider the path of every builder of greatness. Carnegie, who began with nothing but carried the spirit of a general into every decision. Edison, who accepted 1,000 defeats as tuition for one invention. Ford, who obeyed one vision until the world followed his thought. Each of them was once ordinary, but they chose revolt over resignation. They refused to pity themselves and instead commanded themselves. You may think, "But I have failed too often." Then know this: every failure is proof that you are alive and still capable of victory. The only unforgivable sin against self is to surrender the attempt. The past is not a prison. It is a quarry from which you may carve wisdom. Discipline turns every regret into instruction. Now I ask you to perform your first act of self-command. Take paper and write your own code of self-respect. List the behaviors, attitudes, and habits that your higher self can no longer tolerate. Write them without mercy. Then beside each, write the law you will obey henceforth. Example: I will no longer postpone decisions. I will act within the hour. This document is not to please others. It is a treaty between your conscience and your future. Each day, read this code aloud until it governs thought automatically. Do not announce it, live it. Let others discover by the quiet strength in your eyes that something new commands your soul. Soon they will respond to you differently, for men instinctively honor those who honor themselves. The first proof of growth is not applause, but internal stillness. When the weak self rises to argue, the disciplined mind answers only with action. Silence is the warrior's response to temptation. Let the old habits shout. You need not debate them. Each time you obey the new law without ceremony, you weaken the old one. Repeat often this affirmation until it becomes a shield about your spirit. I command myself and obey myself. I will no longer lie to myself. I will know what I am, and I will decide what I shall be. This is the hour of revolt, the sacred rebellion against weakness. Do not wait for another dawn. Rise now, take dominion over thought, and declare, the old king is dead. The rightful ruler has returned. For self-respect begins in this single act of accurate thought, to face truth without tremor, to confess no excuse, and to rebuild life upon law. The universe is not governed by emotion. It is governed by law. Every sunrise arrives by precision. Every planet obeys its orbit. Every seed holds within itself a calendar of seasons that never errs. You see, life itself is discipline made visible. It moves by invisible mathematics, and every man who desires power must bring his own mind into harmony with that eternal order. Discipline is the personal reflection of universal law. It is not a cage, it is structure. It is the skeleton upon which freedom stands upright. Without order, liberty decays into chaos. A man cannot command others, fortune, or circumstance until he has first commanded himself. The undisciplined mind wars against the rhythm of creation and pays for its rebellion in the coin of confusion. Self-control is the bridge between imagination and achievement. It is the law that governs the union of dream and action. Without it, the vision of genius remains vapor in the wind. With it, the same idea becomes a structure of stone. Every great enterprise, be it invention, business, or empire, was built by a man who first learned to harness his emotions, direct his time, and rule his own inner kingdom. Most men imagine that impulse is strength. They call sudden reaction passion and mistake haste for courage. Yet every flash of ungoverned emotion is an energy leak. It is power escaping through cracks in the mind's wall. A disciplined soul wastes nothing. It converts every impulse into fuel, every temptation into proof, every irritation into patience. That, my friend, is mastery. Look upon Thomas Edison. His patience was legendary. When his laboratories burned to the ground, he stood watching the flames and said calmly to his son, "Go fetch your mother. She will never see another fire like this." That was not indifference. It was order. He understood that the law of progress requires that form must sometimes perish for a higher form to appear. He ruled his mood. Therefore, destiny obeyed his design. Emotional slavery is the mark of a man not yet born. He lives at the mercy of weather within himself, now sunshine, now storm. He swears allegiance to purpose in the morning, then deserts by evening because feeling has changed its color. The disciplined man is not chained to feeling. He commands it. He may experience fear, anger, or discouragement, but he decides how long each shall remain guest in his house. To control emotion is not to become stone. It is to become conductor. The current still flows, but under guidance. The violin does not suppress vibration. It organizes it into melody. So too must you organize your energy through control. Without discipline, the symphony of life becomes noise, each emotion playing its own tune without regard to harmony or rhythm. The ungoverned man seeks speed. The disciplined man values direction. There is a law I call controlled waiting, the art of patience under pressure. The seed cannot be hurried into blossom. The wise gardener does not dig daily to check the root. He trusts the process he has begun. Faith in the timing of law is part of discipline. To act rashly is to distrust the universe. Consider how Henry Ford built his empire. Many thought him slow, stubborn, and unbending, but his deliberation was deliberate power. He would listen, measure, and decide only when every fact was weighed. Those who mocked his slowness later worked beneath his command. He understood that authority grows in silence. Noise is the armor of the uncertain. Calm is the garment of the sure. When you speak, speak deliberately. When you act, act definitively. The world has no respect for the man who apologizes to his own purpose. Each hesitation you permit drains strength from conviction. The disciplined will is a monarch. It does not explain, it commands. Yet it commands with justice, for its authority springs from harmony, not pride. The law of order demands that you construct an inner government. Let reason be your president, imagination your cabinet, conscience your judge, and desire your messenger. But let none usurp the throne. When emotion attempts rebellion, reason must remind it that passion serves purpose, not the reverse. All progress collapses when appetite becomes law. Test yourself daily in small things. Deny some impulse of comfort simply to prove that you can. Rise a half hour earlier than you wish and use that time to plan. Refuse one indulgence of temper and you will feel the quiet pride of mastery stronger than the thrill of revenge. These are small victories, yet each builds invisible muscle within the will. Do not fear that self-control will steal joy from life. It multiplies joy by cleansing it of regret. The man of discipline does not lose pleasure, he refines it. He eats with gratitude, not gluttony. He speaks with power, not vanity. He loves with purpose, not possession. His happiness endures because it is earned by harmony, not stolen by excess. Many speak of freedom, but there is no freedom without law. The river is free because it flows within its banks. Remove those banks, and it becomes swamp. The disciplined man's rules are his banks. They give form to his energy and direction to his motion. The ungoverned life spreads wide but flows nowhere. Observe the difference between two craftsmen, one slovenly, arriving when he pleases, leaving tools unclean, the other orderly, methodical, precise. Both possess skill, but only one rises to mastery. Why? Because law loves order. The same hand that arranges the stars rewards the man who arranges his thoughts. The mind that mirrors the universe attracts its cooperation. If you would command influence, you must first exude calm. People feel order before they see it. The steady voice, the composed gesture, the eyes that do not wander, these announce power without words. The undisciplined man may shout to appear strong, but strength never shouts. It simply is. As Ford once said, power is not noise, it is direction. There is an invisible dignity that comes from restraint. When you resist the urge to defend every criticism, you train the world to value your silence. When you master the urge to rush, you draw opportunity to meet you halfway. Order is magnetic. Chaos repels. The mind that governs itself soon governs circumstance. Understand that every emotion has its rightful season. Anger, when governed, becomes courage. Fear, when examined, becomes caution. Desire, when